If you struggle with understanding the core concepts of Spring and Spring Boot, in this video I will explain to you 31 of these concepts in a short and simple way. And if you are serious about learning Java and Spring Boot, check the top link in the description. Inversion of control. IOC means that the Spring container takes control of creating and managing objects, instead of you manually instantiating them. This makes your code more modular, testable, and easier to maintain. Dependency injection. Spring injects required objects, so dependencies, into your class automatically at runtime. It removes tight coupling and promotes a clean separation of concerns. If you want to learn more about inversion of control and dependency injection, after this you can watch my last video about this topic. Application context. This is the core interface to access the Spring container and its beans. It also provides advanced features like event propagation, resource loading, and internalization. So what is a bean then? Bean is simply an object that Spring instantiates, configures and manages in its container. Beans are the backbone of the Spring application. Beans have different scopes. Scopes define how many instances of a bean Spring should create and when. Some of the examples of these scopes are singleton, so one per container, and prototype, a new one each time. Add component, add service, add repository, and add controller are specialized annotations to declare classes as beans with specific roles. They improve their readability and enable Spring to auto-detect and register them. Add auto-wired. Spring automatically injects a required bean by matching the type when you annotate a field constructor and simplifies writing dependencies in your classes. Add configuration and add bean. Use add configuration classes and add bean methods to define and customize beans programmatically. This gives you full control over the instantiation logic. Spring Boot auto configuration. Spring Boot configures beans based on the libraries you include. It saves you from writing lots of boilerplate configuration. Spring Boot starters. Starters are prepackaged dependencies for common functionalities like web, data, or security. They help you get started quickly with minimal setup. Spring Boot Actuator. Actuator exposes endpoints to monitor your app's health, metrics, and environment. It's great for production, monitoring, and debugging. Spring Boot DevTools. DevTools adds hot reload and other developer-friendly features. It speeds up your development workflow significantly. Profiles and add profile annotation. Profiles lets you define beans and properties for different environments like dev or production. You can activate a profile at runtime to change the app's behavior. Externalized configuration. Spring Boot lets you configure your app using files like YAML, environment variables, or CLI arguments. This makes your app flexible and easy to deploy in different environments. Spring MVC. Spring's MVC framework, so Model View Controller, helps you build web apps with clean separation between business logic, views, and controllers. It handles HTTP request and response seamlessly. REST Controller makes it easy to build REST APIs and returns JSON and XML directly. And request mapping and its variants map HTTP routes to controller methods. Spring supports validating input data using JSR 303 annotations like not null and size. It ensures your app handles input gracefully. You can centralize exception handling using a controller advice annotation and custom handlers to allow you to return consistent error responses. Spring Data JPI abstracts away boilerplate crude code when working with databases. It lets you define repository interfaces and query methods easily. Transaction management. Spring manages transactions automatically for you using the transactional annotation. This ensures data integrity and rollbacks in case of an error. Aspect-oriented programming. AOP lets you define cross-cutting concerns like logging, auditing, or security separately. Spring connects these aspects into your application seamlessly. Spring Security. Spring Security provides authentication, authorization, and protection against common attacks. It's highly customizable for securing any Java app. You can schedule tasks to run at fixed intervals or cron-like expressions with scheduled. It's useful for background jobs like reports or cleanup tasks. Spring supports publishing and listening to application events For decoupled communication, this is handy for triggering actions without hard dependencies. Spring Boot runs with built-in servers like Tomcat or Jetty. You can just run your app, no need to deploy the .jar separately. Spring Webflux. Spring's reactive framework for building non-blocking asynchronous web applications using Reactor, Mono and Flux. Useful for high concurrency apps and streaming data. Add qualifier annotation. When multiple beans of the same type exist, qualifier lets you pick which one should be injected. Conditional beans. Define beans that are created only if certain conditions are met. For example, based on the presence of a class, property value, and so on. Spring provides a resource interface to easily work with files, URLs, and class path resources. Spring Test Context Framework supports testing with the Add Spring Boot test, mock beans, and loading context for integration unit tests. Here is my last video about IOC, and till the next time, create some amazing applications.